so quiet. Oh, ready to start. Oh, welcome on this hot Friday morning. As we are working with regards, monthly theme energy, I think it's a good way, or it's a good day today to really assess, how do you feel and how much do you actually want to invest your energy and how much you actually feel like moving. So today is one of those days where it's probably good to listen to your body, take it easy, especially if you have a little bit maybe of a cold or anything lingering. So less is more. And I will be doing a bit more of a flowy practice today. So really keep it light, keep it lighthearted as the summer energy we're moving into anyway. But again, so less is more. So we're doing less longer holds, but more like the body is quite fluid. So almost finding that fluidity in ourselves and just hopefully enjoying a bit of a stretch. And perhaps doing even towards the end the breathing practice. Good. So we actually start. No, let me actually check your energy levels. So I always check 1 to 5. 1 is low, even depending. So take into account if you slept well, if something's going on. 5 is quite energetic, so you're able to bounce afterwards. So it just helps me to kind of offer a bit of options, alternatives. Yeah, good. So online as well. I suggest we actually start standing because otherwise you may feel like you're sticking to your mat. So, and really just embrace how you feel and acknowledge, honor how you feel. So just kind of finding just that fluidity, almost just begin to move through the shoulders. So kind of as if you're rowing. So we're having spells of peace and quiet, a bit of stillness, settling in, but mostly kind of notice how you feel. And we worked last week with removing blockages. So again, seek for those blockages, see what feels tight. So your shoulders can be high up towards your ears. You can use the whole body, maybe letting your elbows also bend a little bit. Perhaps let those arm circles slowly become a little bit bigger, kind of moving into some sort of backstroke. So starting with one direction only, kind of taking them back. So keep it fluid. So without straightening the arm, keep it soft. So soft fluid is that energy of summer. Maybe moving then into those backstrokes. So noticing what feels tight perhaps in the upper back. So, and allow the whole torso to move. Maybe you're finding yourself moving a bit more into a twist. Good. So, and then bring one movement of one arm back to stillness. Keep your torso relatively pointing forward. So that range of motion just comes from one arm. Take it back, notice. Maybe there's a bit of clicking, grinding. So the moment we turn around, we compensate. So notice what feels tight, maybe in the chest, in the shoulders. Perhaps you aim towards straightening your arm. So feel the difference between a floppy arm and a straight arm. So movement is more controlled. So the moment we work with our arms, it clears up. It makes breathing a little easier. Good. Bring that one arm back to stillness. Maybe have a little bit of a shake through your, so notice the right side, left side. Notice what's going on in your neck. Good. And kind of bring the same awareness into the left side. So bringing that movement, or isolating more that movement. And then being aware that your chest, your torso points forward as your arm circles back. Inhale, lengthen, exhale, perhaps slowly take the arm down. Perhaps allow that arm to become a little straighter. Perhaps the movement gets slower as you notice what feels tight, what feels a bit sticky. Good. Perhaps 2 more circles here. mobilizing the upper body. And then returning back to kind of a bit of a shake, allowing any movement naturally to come through the neck, through the shoulders. Good. Taking your feet a little wider, kind of moving into a little bit of a sway. So take it more of a side bend. So perhaps your upper body moves. So let that movement come quite fluid. Perhaps leaning to one side. Perhaps you keep your knees still. So kind of softening down to one side, letting the shoulders stack on top of each other. So the moment the shoulder bends forward, it's more of a twist, and that's when we may pull our backs. Good. So releasing the side body. Perhaps you want to bring the top arm in and up overhead. So with the heat outside, the blood vessels actually expand. So we have lower blood pressure, which makes it harder for the heart to pump the blood. So be aware of maybe any dizziness or any nausea. So that makes also the muscles a little bit more accessible, softer. Good. Perhaps if you want and you enjoy the stretch, perhaps stay for breath or two, breathing into that side body. Once more, feel the weight of your top arm and then change sides. So lengthen and then release. So your neck, your head in any position that feels comfortable. Might be looking down, up, to the side. Good. And then find your way back to stillness. Bring your hands behind your back, make a fist. Draw the shoulders back, chest lift. So if it feels okay, perhaps lift your elbows or lift your fist away from the body. So just squeezing those shoulder blades together and then soften. So coming back in, draw the shoulders back, maybe elbows slightly bend as they squeeze towards one another. Good. And then soften here. Going the opposite way, feet can be a little bit wider. Kind of casually make your way down. So without the kind of achievement to go to a certain point, just to release the back body, slowly roll back up. And that's where I ask you to take it really slowly because of the blood pressure. So you can kind of slide down. Maybe notice a bit of a stretch in your back. And then slowly roll back up, uncurling, rolling the shoulders back. So depending how it feels for you, may just hang out a little bit more down here. Perhaps say yes, say no with your head. And then rolling back up when it feels okay. So just allowing the blood to settle. Good. So perhaps you want to stay more parallel to the floor. That's perfectly fine. Maybe breathe then into the backs of your thighs. Starting to soften those hamstrings. And then slowly come back up. Good. Whew. So from here, keep it quite floppy, standing twist. So again, lots of softness in your legs. You can come onto the big toe as your knees also naturally move. Seek that release for the upper back. So arms can be lower. That's the twist in the lower back. Mid back is kind of rib cage area. If you bring your arms up towards your shoulders, you move the twist more into the upper back. Good. Feel that breeze on your skin. Perhaps even tap yourself on the shoulder, moving more into the upper back twist. Perhaps looking over that shoulder. Good. So just releasing anything that feels tight, that feels stuck. And without stopping abruptly, let that movement become slower and a bit smaller. Good. So really gradually warming up the body. From here, turn around so you face the long edge of your mat, whichever way it is. So probably best where you can see, move feet a little bit wider and allow yourself to kind of sway from side to side, loosening up the inner thighs. Good. So it could be, you can always adjust the stance, take a little bit wider, take a little bit closer together. So in the moment you bring your bottom back, your back is nice and long. So you may notice how the stretch actually moves. So if you're swaying around with the back quite rounded, so the moment we take the bottom back like a bit like a duck, it brings the stretch into different dimensions. Good, finding that kind of balance between that effort and ease. Maybe you want to stay on one side for a little bit longer. Again, personal preference. So pick what works best for you today. Perhaps you continue that dynamic movement. Good, a couple of breaths here. So notice how the body reacts. And then find your way back up to standing, kind of bringing arms and legs together. So bring your arms out to the side as if you draw a big circle. So it's kind of sway from side to side. So you can imagine, you can even bring your fingertips all the way towards the yoga mat. So perhaps you bend one knee as you travel from side to side. So perhaps you have both knees already bent as you sway. Perhaps change directions. So maybe visualize, but you almost want to scoop up, stretching. Lovely. 2 more of those sways here. And then find your way back to neutral. Draw your feet a little bit together. So perhaps just drop your mind's eye into your feet. So after kind of a few more movements, so notice how the body feels. Bring your awareness to your nose. Perhaps breathe into your belly button area. Using the exhale, make it slightly longer to bring blood pressure down, bring the heart rate down. Inhale through your nose all the way up towards the crown of your head. Exhale, perhaps breathe all the way down into your toes. Draw that breath from your toes up towards the crown of your head. And exhale then. Kind of visualize your breath is washing across the body. Bring a bit of cooling qualities into the body again. 2 more breaths. Good. And then find your way back into this room if your eyes were closed. Bringing slowly movement into the body, half sun salutations. So from the back of your mat, so we can add movement then from here. Bring your, kind of keeping the feet perhaps a little bit wider. They don't have to be all the way closed. So arms out to the sides, turn your thumbs around so your shoulders draw back. Just take a moment to breathe into that sensation as you're maybe feel a bit taller. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, the backs of your palms meet. Begin to fold forward as your arms come towards your calves. As you fold forward, soft bend in your knees. Halfway lift, your hands can be on your shin, looking towards the front of your mat. Exhale, fold forward. Stay for breath in that forward fold. Inhale. Begin to bend your knees as your upper body lifts up. You're kind of in a chair pose. And then press into your feet, arms out to the sides. Inhale. Exhale, draw them towards your heart center. Good. A few more rounds. Arms out wide to the sides, turn them around. Shoulders squeeze back. Inhale. Exhale, backs of your palms meet. Fold forward, but like a waterfall. Halfway lift. Exhale, folding forward. Stay for breath or 2. Bend your knees as if you're sitting in your invisible chair. Arms out to the sides as you push back up to standing. Inhale. Exhale, folding your hands towards your heart center. Adding on from here, walking into downward dog. Arms out to the sides. Once more, take a moment just to stop, breathe, smell the flowers. Inhale, lift. Exhale, backs of your palms meet, fold forward. Halfway lift. And exhale, fold forward. Bring your hands down. Walk into your probably first downward dog of the day. Keep it quite soft. Keep it quite fluid. Maybe you want to sway your bottom from side to side. Knees can bend. So find your kind of version of downward dog. From here, bring your knees down, tabletop. Oh, and move through some tabletop circles. So kind of bringing movement into your hips, into your knees. So any kind of 3 movement, shifting the bottom towards the left, towards the right. So kind of tap into your body. What do you need? So balance is always, what do you need more? What do you need less of? And then find your way to neutral tabletop position. So a couple of cat and cows. Draw the navel in as you round your spine. Look towards your feet. And on the inhale, drop and uncurl. So find your own breathing rhythm as you round the spine. Push the floor away from you. And then soften. Good. 2 or 3 more rounds, mobilizing through the spine. Good. And then find back to neutral tabletop. So a couple of options here to create a bit more length in the side body. You can keep your upper body more stacked as you reach your right arm towards the left corner of your mat. Or if you want, you can sit back towards your heels if it's not too compressing for your knees, and reach your right arm also towards your left, to the left corner of your mat. So whatever feels best. So the more you press your fingertips into the earth and lift through your elbow, lift through your armpit, the more you may create a bit of that stretch along the right side of your body. So your forehead can rest on the mat on the left forearm. So connect to that breath, creating a bit more of a longer stretch on the side body. Good, 1 more breath. And then slide your hand back. So a bit of coming back to neutral tabletop. Have a little bit of a wiggle. Second side, so you can either keep your bottom more up in the air or shift the bottom back towards child's pose as you reach your left hand towards the right corner. So connect to that breath. So we're aiming to create a bit more space, breathing in through your nose and out through your nose. Okay, 2 more breaths. And then slide your hands back. So a couple of options here. If you prefer to stay on the floor, kind of resting in child's pose, feel free to do so. Otherwise, you may want to come up into downward dog, have a little bit again of a wiggle. You may want to cross 1 foot over, second one. So have a bit of a play, how the body feels, what the body wants to do. Perhaps even lifting 1 leg, your version of any downward dogs you feel like doing. So, and we all meet back in child's pose. So you can stay for a little longer, you can come straight into child's pose. Also your version here of child's pose. Arms can be forward, arms can be back. So if you're still in downward dog, maybe make your way down towards child's pose. Again, check in with your physical body. Check in with your mental and emotional body. So breathing in and out through your nose. Staying for another 3 breaths. Good. When you're ready, uncurl. Find your way to tabletop and step your right foot forward, please. So we also have a block here. You may want to take the block, but just by way of arm extension, we're letting the left hip drop towards the earth and then shifting back, stretching through the right hamstring. So the block could be just a bit of a way to have a bit more support. You can take your foot, the right foot, out towards the right side, so your hands are on the inside of your right foot. So allowing yourself to, I've got a couple of blankets here, so put something on the back of your knee if it feels a little niggly. So kind of stretching out here in that runner stretch and letting that left hip drop. So kind of just create that release through the left hip and the right hamstring. And perhaps before you do so, as you start perhaps in that position, keep your right knee over your right ankle. That gives you the right kind of distance between your knee and the hip. So the moment you have that foot more here, it's more of a calf stretch. So keep it a little bit further forward. So also preference, you may want to stay for a little bit longer, or you may just travel through those postures. And the upper body allows you to add more weight to release anything that feels tight. So for those who want to progress, you can curl the back toes under and perhaps come into that high lunge. So different options for different bodies, different mobilities and energy levels. So even perhaps from here, you want to aim to stretch the front leg out. So again, find what works. You can keep that posture on the floor, shifting between those two postures, or gradually, as the body starts to get a little warmer, the muscles begin to release, to find that softness through the body. And use that exhale to let go of any tightness in the perhaps left hip or in the right hamstring. So the warm weather perhaps makes it already a little bit more accessible, so it kind of lengthens the muscles. So coming slowly back into that low lunge. So from here, keeping your right foot still forward, open up through the left arm, moving into a twist, and then bring it back down. So kind of going into the posture on the exhale and out of the posture on the inhale. Again, you can have your hand on the floor, on the block. You may do the same movement with your left leg extended. So it's more of a balance, and the core needs to activate a bit more. So twist towards that right leg. So the belly button turns towards the right inner thigh. So we're kind of looking towards that inner thigh. So that also clears out some blockages, allows the body to function optimally. Perhaps one more breath on the same side. Good. And then find your way back to neutral tabletop. You can have a little bit of a swing, a bit of a sway, circling for tabletop, noticing how the hip feels. And then find your version of either child's pose, or if you want to continue having a bit more of a circle, feel free to do so. So you can keep even both fists stacked on top of each other. That gives, and rest your forehead, or rest even your forehead on your block. That gives just a bit more air to circulate between the mat and your nose. So a couple of breaths, stretching the back body. Having perhaps also the knees a little wider, the big toes together, brings a bit more, brings less compression into the belly. So that you may be able to bring the hips further back, stretching through the lower back. So breathing in and out through your nose. Two more breaths. And then find your way back up to neutral tabletop. The same bit of a sequence on the second side. So left foot steps forward, you can take it all the way to the left side. Hands on the inside of your left foot. Again, the block helps at any level. So find that, kind of just befriend those different body parts as you begin to release one and then the other. So we're all different and each side feels different. Today, last week, next week. And observe your breath. Are you holding your breath as you move into those postures? So use your judgment. When do you want to hold the posture? Perhaps just a breath or two, maybe a little longer. Come back in. So perhaps you want to progress then from here, lifting that right knee off the floor. So from low lunge to high lunge. See how it feels. Maybe it feels easier than the first side. Even with the block on the floor, you can stretch and aim at straightening through that front leg. So literally that pyramid pose. Okay, giving you here a bit more room to play. And then slowly make your way back to that low lunge. And get ready to open your left arm up to the sky as your belly button turns towards your left thigh. And then come back down on the inhale. So exhale, open. And inhale, close. So you may, again, add that high lunge. See how that feels, if it feels appropriate. So kind of just explore, twisting, perhaps holding for a breath longer. So without, you hold the posture, but not the breath. Perhaps take two more of those twists. And then wherever you are, find your way back to neutral tabletop. So again, have a bit of a circling. So you can take your knees already a little bit wider. So there is enough space then for the tailbone to stretch completely back. So again, choice here, you can continue a bit of circle. You may perhaps just want to rest in child's pose. So we all take just a couple of moments again to come back into the body. So notice your knees can be closer together, the knees can be a little bit wider. So that stretches the body, the whole spine, from tailbone to base of skull. So perhaps focusing in on evening out your breath. So either perhaps breathing in to count of 4, breathing out to count of 4. So bringing the breath back to balance. Once the breath is back to balance, the body follows suit. Maybe explore 5 and 5, or stick with 4 and 4, perhaps 3 and 3. So breathing in for a count of 3, breathing out for a count of 3. So 2 more breaths. And from here, find your way back up into tabletop. And we're transitioning once more to downward dog and then to standing. So any movement here, you may want to lift one leg up. You may keep crossing them over, perhaps turning both toes to the long edge of your mat, bending your knees. So any free movement. So perhaps you want to move from plank to downward dog. Again, judge your energy level, judge perhaps the heat. And we all meet back in a standing position. So walk your hands perhaps towards your feet, kind of slowly uncurling, unrolling, vertebra by vertebra. Oh, good. So again, adjust, notice how blood pressure feels, maybe have a drink actually, or two. So, so. So from the back of your mat, we are coming into warrior 2 stance. So bring your left foot forward, please, your right foot back. So as you bend through your left knee, so the body perhaps is already quite warmed up, and then find that, so come into the full expression of the pose with your arms also coming in. So left arm forward, right arm back. You're looking over your left middle finger. So from here, straighten your front leg, bend your back knee, lift your left balls of your feet, bring your palms together as you bow towards the earth, but like a dancing warrior. Inhale, back to warrior 2. So find your own little flow here. So you can always adjust your feet. You can bring your feet a little closer together. So just bringing a bit of that summary fluid back, or just summary flow into the body. So coming into that movement, so shifting back, perhaps kind of bowing. Good. So take perhaps 2 more here, bit of that fluidity, that softness, that focus. And we're moving, or we're meeting back in warrior 2. So notice your breath. Good. And straighten your front leg. Bring the right hand onto your front thigh, turn your front palm over and lean back. So reversing the warrior. If you want, bend your front knee so that deepens that stretch a bit more. So you're literally in warrior 2 legs, just your arm coming back, and then straighten your front leg again. Good. So from here, step. So keeping your feet exactly as they are, step the right foot slightly in, so your hips theoretically point towards the long edge of your mat. We're coming to a little bit of an airy-fairy version of half moon. So you may just want to almost like star pose, perhaps like reaching out, find your balance. So your the hips literally stack on top of each other. Kind of explore, maybe even here, a bit like a seesaw. So your front foot points forward. So focus here, eyes stay in a focus spot. So the hips remain stacked, perhaps bending the front knee. So allowing your body, allowing yourself to play a bit with balance. So half moon pose, a bit like a floating half moon. Perhaps flex the back foot, flex the right foot. So to engage the back leg more. So it almost straightens it a bit more. Good. So again, a bit of a floaty half moon pose. Lovely. And from here, stepping back. Oh, having a little bit of a wiggle. So noticing how one side feels. And second side. So right foot forward, left foot back. So warrior two stance. So perhaps have a bit of a kind of notice how the hips feel as your knees point, right knee points forward. So and eventually look over your right middle finger. Good, find your breath. And then shifting the bottom back, shifting the weight back, bending through the back knee as you lift your toes, bowing towards the earth. And then coming back into warrior two. So that you have a, see, so you decide how deep you want to bend. Perhaps it's just a little bend, perhaps it's a deeper bend. So combine that movement with your breath as well. Exhale, you kind of bow. Inhale, you're back in warrior two. So let the breath actually determine that movement. So it may mean you move a little slower. Maybe the breath gets a little longer. Good. So kind of exploring here, movement, bit of stretch. Literally bringing everything together from the different parts we warmed up today. And then find your way back into warrior two. Find that focus, looking over your right middle finger. Feel the feet grounding. And then straightening through your front leg. Tilt your back hand, bring your back left hand onto your back side, turn your front palm over, lean back into that side stretch. So opening it through the right side of your body. Bend your front knee as you keep everything else exactly as it is. Okay, one more breath. And then coming back to standing. Keep everything exactly as it is. Begin to step your left foot in. Perhaps you kind of just keep the big toe on the floor as you focus your eyes. Then perhaps lift, flex that left foot. Find that effort and don't find that balance between effort and ease. Good. So perhaps play with bending that standing leg a little bit. Perhaps just shifting your upper body just a couple of inches. How does it change balance? How does it change the experience of the posture? Good. And then float your way back into standing, normal standing. So kind of any movement here can move into a bit of a twist. You can kind of just come into forward fold, anything that feels good. So perhaps you want to just move in any specific way, perhaps forward fold as you shift, as you maybe shake your neck, shake your head. Good. So, and then from here, again, a bit of free play. We meet literally on our tummies. So you can move again through downward dog. Anything you want to do, plank, downward dog. So, and eventually we meet like a pancake on our front. You can come straight into it, of course, or you may want to travel a bit more. Good. So pick what works for you. Make a cushion between your, or make a cushion for your forehead to rest on. So whether it's your forearms, whether it's the palms, and let the body just settle. You may want to take the feet out a little bit wider so there's no holding, no muscular tension. So if it feels a bit too sticky, perhaps stack both forearms on top of each other and then rest your forehead. So that creates a bit more of an air bubble between your nose and the floor. So direct the breath once more into your belly button area. So feel the belly pressing against the floor as we come into those deep diaphragmic breaths. So connecting again to your breath, perhaps the 4 in, 4 out breath. Finding that balance. So perhaps feel the lower back slightly lifting. So we're bringing the breath not just into our bellies, but also into the sides, into the back. So nourishing every cell. The deeper the breaths are, the fuller the breaths are, the more nourished the body feels. Good. A couple of breaths. And then from here, slowly bring your forearms down. We're moving into Sphinx posture. So literally stretching through the front body. So notice if your shoulders are quite up by your ears, perhaps then press into your forearms, with like the turtle coming back out of your shell. You may want to look over your left shoulder, over your right shoulder. So let the breath settle. At any point you can come down in case there's too much of a pinch in your lower back. Have a bit of a wiggle. Come back in. If you want to progress, perhaps lift your elbows and keep your legs quite engaged. So you can always come in and out of the posture, lift and lower. So maybe coming back down, bending, perhaps even both knees, letting your legs circle, lower legs circle. That releases the hips. There are 2 more breaths. And then bring that circling back to stillness. Both hands underneath your shoulders. Actually keep your forehead on the floor. So without lifting anything, circle through your shoulders. So bringing the shoulders up towards your ears and then draw them back down. So perhaps bring them into a little bit of a squeeze. So perhaps you want to bring your fingertips out, or your hands a little bit out to the side. Turn the fingers in. The shoulder, the elbows point out. Perhaps once more, move through those shoulders. Bit of a wiggle, circling, squeeze. So just clear out any kind of cobwebs. You may want to lift your head, lift your shoulders just a bit of it away from the floor. So you got maybe a bit more leeway to stretch for your chest, for your upper arms, while squeezing the shoulder blades together. Good. And then find your way back to stillness. Have a little bit of a wiggle through your forehead, softening through the back of your neck. And then from here, bring your hands once more underneath your shoulders. Push up into downward, into tabletop, and all the way into a offsetting child's pose or tabletop, or wherever it feels accessible to round your spine again, to bring it back to neutral. Couple of breaths. And then come into tabletop and kind of swing your legs forward. So we're coming to eventually on our backs, but in order to watch, just taking the tennis ball. So take your tennis ball, please. And so you probably may want to look first. So you come onto your back, bring it underneath one butt cheek to start with. So we're looking for that myofascial release, so the soft bit, not the bony bit. And then allow your right leg to kind of sway out towards the side. So there's a piriformis muscle that always feels tight. So find those spots. These are very subtle areas. They're very kind of ouchy, tender areas. So it might be more up here, maybe on the side. So it's the glutes that generally hold on to tension. So there are different areas you may want to navigate around certain tight spots. Perhaps your leg actually stays in that position and breathe through those areas. Breathe. So let the breath help you release that tension. So you may want to keep the leg in that position. Maybe you want to search for any other spots around your glutes, around those butt cheeks. So, and letting your leg kind of move allows you to move into different sensations, make it perhaps slightly more intense, maybe less intense. So notice what's happening in the body. So and avoid holding your breath. So perhaps it's that kind of gentle, almost squeeze and release. So notice if you're still keeping the body tense, or if you actually start to almost let go, to release into that posture. So it's very, very small movements sometimes, maybe no movements at all. So explore perhaps still on the same side, different ways, maybe moving slightly up, more towards the sides, maybe further down. So you know probably when you find that spot. So slowly kind of get ready to detach from that first movement. Keep both knees bent. The butt cheek or the side, you actually just stretch. Cross your right ankle over your, or cross that ankle over the opposite knee. So we're moving into that figure of four stretch. You can stay here. You can bring your knee closer. So the one that's on the floor closer towards you. You may want to even bring your hands through. So we are literally started to release that muscle that maybe it actually feels easier, that posture, compared to when some of you usually do it. So again, using the breath. So probably I should have said actually remove the ball. So some of you have the ball. If you enjoy having the ball there, keep the ball. Otherwise, just remove the tennis ball. So it doesn't have to stay there. So actually remove the ball, but come into that posture. Unless you enjoy having the ball there, then keep it there. So a couple of breaths. And then slowly release that, come out of the posture. Start, bring the ball onto the second side, whichever side this is. So maybe the left side. So again, just starting to release through that, kind of through the weight of your leg, as you kind of, again, move from dynamic to a bit more of a static hold. Making friends to those muscles that feel tight. Perhaps notice which side is a bit more tense than the others. So the moment you bring movement into that release, it may change some sensations. A couple of small, deep, full breaths. Find almost again that surrendering into that stretch, letting go of held tension. Two more breaths perhaps on that second side. And then you can move into the figure four stretch again. You can cross your ankle over and perhaps bring that thigh closer to you. You can scoop your hands through. So just choose what works best. And while you're in that kind of last active posture, I'm talking you through those breaths. So if what we're going to do in a minute, so our nostrils, the right and the left side, they are linked to certain energy channels. So the right nostril is linked to the heating, the solar energy, anything that's energetic, brings energy back into the balance, into the body. The left nostril is associated with cooling, calming qualities, lunar, like the moon. So, and we work in a minute with one of those channels. So by closing off one nostril, we are enhancing those qualities of a certain channel. So perhaps take 2 more breaths here in that posture. And then release your foot. So you can stay exactly as you are, perhaps knees bent, perhaps legs stretched out. So we are working with the left nostril. That means I've got tissues here in case you want to clear your nose. So you can keep your hand on the right nostril, blocking off your right nostril. So keep your arm actually relaxed. So it probably feels a little heavy in a minute. And breathe only in and out through the left nostril. So don't force the breath, let it naturally come in and out through that left channel. So we are looking for those, again, deep, full, complete breaths. Let the breath draw all the way up towards the top of your head as you inhale, and perhaps visualize the breath moves down towards the base of your spine. So keeping the lips sealed, the lips closed. Breathing in and out through the left nostril only. Perhaps adjust your arm in case it feels heavy. So without straining the breath, let it flow naturally in and out of your body. So maybe you want to focus again on a count. So maybe breathing in, counting silently up to 4 in your head. Perhaps as you breathe out, counting silently also to 4. So you may want to add, feels easy to 4, maybe do 5 and 5 breaths. So we are kind of working with the cooling energy channel. That also brings that calmness into the body, into the mind. So in case you wake up in the middle of the night, you can come back to that breath. Breathing in and out through the left channel only. So kind of the fuller, the deeper the breaths are, the more it helps you even balancing blood pressure, heart rate, a busy mind. You may also perhaps work on lengthening the exhale. So in case you work with 4 and 4, maybe breathing into 4, breathing out to 6. So you're lengthening that exhale. So we are literally naturally moving into just a few minutes of relaxation. So you can release your hand, your finger, just kind of naturally transitioning into rest. Maybe your mind's eye still channels the breath in and out through the left nostril. You can keep your eyes closed or have a soft gaze. So feeling the full weight of your body. Allow it to release, to soften into the earth. So letting go of any remaining tension in your physical body. Relaxing your feet, your legs, pelvis, abdominals, chest, lungs, heart, upper back, shoulders, back of your head. If you're distracted by noises, bring your attention back to your breath. Focus on the breath flowing in and out through your nose. Feeling the rising and falling of your chest, of your belly. The mind gets distracted by thoughts. Perhaps count your breaths. Your whole physical body is at ease. Your breath is quiet. Your mind calm. Very slowly and gradually allow yourself to come back into this room, to deepen your breath, to wiggle your fingers, your toes, your hands, your feet. Maybe stretch the arms up and overhead, stretching from fingertips to toes. And then slowly bring one knee at a time back into your chest. Perhaps allow the body just to rock for a little bit back and forth. And then roll over towards your right side, staying there for a breath or two. And then find your way back up into any seated position. So take a moment just to land, to arrive, sense. And then once more bring your arms out to the sides, lengthen, reach up as you inhale. Exhale, draw them back towards your heart center. Bow your head towards your heart. Thank yourself for making time this morning. Namaste. Have a good weekend.